Welcome, everyone. So excited to have you here with us today. I'm Chris Ronzio, CEO, founder of Trainual. This is Jonathan.
CMO of Trainual.
And my brother. So
Yep.
Jonathan is where I grew up on the East Coast in the Boston area, and I'm out in Scottsdale, Arizona. Today we have a marathon of exciting content for you. So for 5 hours, we're going to be streaming and interviewing amazing experts. We've got an incredible lineup coming your way. We've got Becky Karsh from Uber. We've got Radical Candor author Kim Scott. We have VaynerMedia's Claude Silver, so many people leaders. And these are people that when we made a list and reached out to people, we didn't expect them all to say yes. So we are really fortunate that they're here today. By the end of today, you're going to have a much better understanding of what empathy is, why it's so important, and how you can use it to be a better employee, a better manager, or just a better person in general. So before we get into this, I want to give you a little bit of context. Jonathan, you want to share the story?
Yeah, absolutely. So last summer, actually, like late June, Chris and I went to New York to participate in Gary Vaynerchuk's 4Ds workshop, which is his digital deep dive and discovery session that he does with small business owners, brings them into Vayner and has them meet with their senior leader team to talk all things advertising, digital content, media, etc. But as part of that experience, we were part of the launch of the Empathy Wines white wine. So Empathy Wines is a wine company that Gary started with Nate and John, who you're going to meet here in just a moment. And together they were launching this white. And so we got to talking. We obviously, walked away from that experience with a ton of the wine ourselves and thought, how cool would it be to do a collaboration where we infuse this concept of empathy and, of course, great wine with what we love in terms of training and building and leadership and scaling teams. And thus here we are.
So when he says a ton of wine, we mean like almost 1,000 bottles of this stuff. And we had intended to do like a big event here in Scottsdale and invite a lot of our certified consultants and partners and other software companies. That was the plan. But of course, coming into the spring, plans changed. And so to keep everyone healthy and to make this more approachable and accessible for everyone while travel's off the table, we decided to go virtual. And in doing that, we opened it up to make it an even bigger event than we originally expected. So one thing I want to note is if you're not live here or if you've got other people that you want to see this content, know that we're recording everything. And so at the end of this, we're going to be putting out content on podcasts. We're going to be putting it on YouTube. And so you can get all of this after the fact. Just look out for an email coming at you as soon as this is over. So before I introduce Nate and John from Empathy Wine, I want to give just a touch on a few housekeeping items, few house rules here. So the first is that we have a hashtag, of course, as any good event does, training with empathy. So we'd love for you to use this if you're taking a picture of your screen and the Zoom windows, or if you're at home and indulging, then please take a picture, use the hashtag. We'd love for you to share that with everyone. Next, we want this to be really interactive. So please use the chat because a lot of the features, the conversation we're going to be having will come from you. So we'll open things up and ask questions we're interested in, but then we're going to reserve a lot of each chat for any questions that you have to make sure you get a ton of impact from this. Next, if wine is not your thing, please know this is a celebration of empathy, not a celebration of alcohol. So I know that when we sent this out, some people say, I don't drink, and that's totally fine. Some of our speakers don't drink. I barely drink. So whatever it is, grab your coffee or your tea or your water and just really enjoy the content. Next, we're going to be doing a giveaway. So at the end of all this, right at the beginning of the last presentation, when Claude Silver from VaynerMedia comes in, you'll get a chance to win signed copies of all the books from everyone we talked to today, a full year subscription to Empathy Wines, a full year subscription to Trainual, a empathy test that we're going to talk about in a little bit, and then you can win that just by being present in the conversation, and we'll post that before that session. And then again, just a reminder, all sessions will be recorded, so you can access these after the fact. All right, Jonathan, why don't we bring in Nate and John?
Let's do it. I'll look for them in the bring them on from the attendee list right now. I want to say shout out to Guy, who's here from Queenstown, New Zealand. That's actually the place that Chris and I went skydiving for the first time. New Zealand,
wow,
special place in our hearts.
That was a long time ago.
That was. All right, bringing Nate here to a panelist.
So while we're bringing these guys on, I'll show you just a quick schedule here. At any time, you can go to trainingwithempathy.com. The schedule's on there, but I'll bring it up on the screen from time to time just so you can see where we're at. All these times are in Eastern time in the United States, but hopefully you can do the math. Hey, Nate, what's up?
Hey, how's it going?
It's going good, man. How are you? John, how are you?
Doing well.
So great to have you guys here. Thanks for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for having us. Glad sorry I couldn't be there in person, but we'll do the best we can.
Fortunately, nobody can be here in person, right? So we're all in the same boat.
So as we were planning this event, you know, the idea stemmed from working with you guys and being a part of that launch event, but the word empathy is such a hot word right now. And so how could we have this event without you being a part of it? Because that's the name of your company. You've got to tell us the story. Where'd the brand come from? Where'd the name come from?
Yeah, John, I think you're on mute, but I'll kick it off. So we started this winery with Gary about 2 years ago. And if anyone doesn't follow Gary here, he talks quite a bit about empathy being a superpower in business and in life. And so we were kind of spitballing different names and different ideas, but the one thing we kept coming back to was this just word empathy, and could that be the name for our winery? And as we started talking about it more and more, we thought, how does empathy tie into wine? And so if you look at our website and what's on the back of some of our bottles, it says empathy for the farmer and empathy for you. So one of our missions in this business is to tell the stories of these amazing farmers where we source our grapes from. And try and almost be a marketing engine for these farmers and have empathy for all the work that they do. And then empathy for you, the customer, the consumer. We're a DTC or direct consumer winery. So getting our consumers the best product that we can for the price was one of the biggest missions in this project overall.
So you guys are, is it a year already? Like when it's recent that you really got this off the ground, right? When did you launch the Rosé, which was the first one?
Yeah, we're coming up on a year now of business. We shipped our first wine, the Rosé, about a year ago today. And then just last week, we released the second vintage of that. So yeah, about 12 months in market with wine, and it's been an awesome ride so far. And we're super excited to be able to do things like this just within the first year in business.
So did you both have experience in the wine industry, or was this something that you just took Gary's background and thought it would be a cool brandable thing?
Thankfully, Nate and I had a little bit of experience in this world prior. So the two of us cut our teeth working in the wine world with Gary prior to kind of where he's best known today in terms of social media, advertising, and people development and mentorship. He was better known within the wine world. So the two of us had similar career paths and started with him almost 11 years ago. Taking some zigs and zags and following along with him closely, we had transitioned away from wine, but it was only starting a couple of years ago that we had the itch to get back into this world. And so that was kind of the seed that ultimately turned into Empathy Wines.
And what's been like the biggest lessons learned from the past year in terms of your journey getting this off the ground and growing it and connecting with your consumers?
Good question. You know, a lot of what I handle in the business is a little bit more on the operations and logistics side of it. And, you know, John and I were in the wine world before, but on a different side of the business. I think what was amazing for me to learn is what goes into putting this bottle of wine on someone's table, from the labels to the corks to the grapes to the winemaking to barrels. There's so many different people and so many different processes that touch a bottle of wine. And so to understand what it takes to actually get this product on one of our customers' tables was a really interesting and fun learning curve.
Well, the transition couldn't be better, because for you, talking about the process of winemaking is such a nice segue into our first speaker that's coming on, Michael Ventura. So I'm excited to introduce him. Before I do, last question is, what ways have you infused empathy into your company? So of course, the farmer, the consumer, and an understanding of this, but you've also got your own teams, right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a great question, and it's an exciting one to be able to answer because the people part of the business and growing a team is maybe the most gratifying and exciting part, aside from being able to see people trying our wines. For us, Nate and I both most recently came from VaynerMedia, which is at this point a fine-tuned humming machine of upwards of 900 people. To then go into a situation where you have to build from scratch an organization, you just realize how critical and important it is to get those early team members right, and to ultimately have empathy for them. They're joining a company on day one that has very little history and legacy, and they're kind of helping build the very fabric that the company will start from. So for us, that piece was mission critical, and we've been super fortunate in the early days to have brought on a few great hires, and we can only hope that the team will continue to grow with that. And I think having, the word of the day, having empathy for everybody in that system is kind of mission critical to keeping all the great momentum.
That's so awesome, guys.
Well, kudos on your second vintage, and I think let's do a quick toast. So I unscrewed mine beforehand, so I didn't punch myself in the face with a corkscrew.
All right. The symbolic uncorking of empathy. Of course, again, for anybody who's on the West Coast or any other part of the world where it's not yet noon, feel free to have a symbolic sip or not, or just have some coffee and grab your wine later if you want to. But yeah, guys, if there's anything that you want to say to lead us in a toast here.
Just cheers to everyone. Hope you have a great day with the Trainual team, and just wish everyone health and happiness.
Perfect. So cheers to our speakers, to our attendees, and to empathy. This will be a fun day. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Cheers. Thank you.
All right. Well, let's transition on that. What a great kickoff. Really cool brand. You should learn more. I'd encourage you to go check out their website, learn more about their story. Amazing guys.